money. Which I do not have.
So you're giving our system to me.
Not directly, I can state it as kind of comment, but when I have that resources inside your credit card, that's the policy. Not directly, settle on the knowledge is which is infinite. Everybody is wrong. Only church is correct. I don't think
Today I will be talking about continuing whatever discussion we are having on brand values. We talked about how do you evaluate the brand based on cost. Second, we have spoken about how do we evaluate the brand based on the market. And take a consulting format, which is internal. This was started in 1988 by gentleman one John White, who was the marketing consultant. He started this organization. Basically, it works in brand management, brand strategy, brand management. So every year, what they do, they publish the report about the various value of the brand. So we try to find out what methodology they use. Okay. The exact detail is not available in the website. I tried, but whatever best I can do, I will try to do. Okay. Based on certain article, based on my own assessment, we try to analyze what method, how they have done. So incidentally, if you look at their website, in 2024, they have given a top 50 most valuable brand. Out of that, we find the Apple is number one, very lower brand, okay, in the world. So based on their values, followed by Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Samsung. Okay. And in India, the best Indian brand, number one is TCS. Keep on changing this. Number one is on 2024, 2023, number of brand was TCS, Tata Consulting Services. So then followed by Reliance, Infosys, HDFC. Now HDFC changed to HDFC Bank. Recently, I don't know what is the values for that brand value because HDFC Bank got merged, reverse merge. Okay, HDFC got merged into HDFC Bank. This is the reverse merge. It is not a normal kind of merge. So I don't know what is the brand value of that after getting merged into HDFC Bank. And then we have a Zio. It's a new entry. You find the Zio brand value is much higher compared to any old companies. Okay. And then we have a Yes, Netflix, LIC, Mahindra. So these are some of the top leading brands of Indian brands. Now we are talking of global brands, we are talking of Indian brands. Okay. Now based on this, you find what is the value of the brand of Apple? Over $88.9 in terms of value, number one. So compared to last year, 23, there is a decrease of 3%, minus 3%. So the value of brand of Apple deteriorated by 3%, minus 3%, from 23 to 26. So subsequently, in fact, this brand has values are gone up compared to the previous year. The Microsoft, and then you have Amazon, Google, Samsung. These are some of the leading top 5 brands of the world. And what is the criteria they use? And these are the leading brand of India, top 2 Indian brands, top 50 Indian brands. So we're starting with TCS, Reliance, Infosys. So you all find out big companies. Now, as a finance man, I just look at other point of view. You find all these companies are a part of mostly the index 50. If somebody is following stock market, you find all of these companies are mostly the part of the okay. So all these companies are valued by market by stakeholders here. We find the TCS, we find the Infosys, Reliance. These are all top weighted in the index as far as the market value is concerned. So there is a linkage between the brand value and the market value. Okay. There's a, if you want to do a study, you can take that out whether the brand value and market value or how they are linked. And these data are available. If you go to the Interbank website, the last 10-15 years, these values are given. So these are all Indian top brand. And currently, I don't know, if you look at 2024, 25, I presume that Zomato might come into the picture. Zomato will come into the picture, but it's not here. This is what, this is the value of Indian Bank on 2023. This is the data I got. TCS, it is valued in terms of rand value in terms of millions of rupees. That is there, and 10 years change. It has gone up by 153%. 10 years. The rand value of TCS has gone up by 153%. Followed by Reliance, and then we have got Infosys, HFC, Jio is a new startup, which has come into the top 10 in Indian brand values. And then these are all the companies, the Indian companies. These are all well-known companies. Now, what is the criteria? The global list, you don't find the Indian companies. If you look at top 50 companies, you don't find Indian companies. So what is the criteria of selecting the global 50 brand? That you have to understand first. What is the criteria? There must be sufficient publicly available data on the brand financial products. Otherwise, we are not going to be able to. So we are asking some data. And obviously, the companies which are listed in the market, those data are available public. You won't find unlisted companies. The data are not available. Okay, then at least 70% of the revenue must come from outside the bank's home label. That is, the Indian companies in hardly find that 30% of their income is outside India. So that may be the reasons why the Indian companies, the brands are not included in the program. Fact 27, what the brand must have geographic coverage in the emerging market. So in the emerging economy, they must have some coverage in the emerging market. Okay? Then the economic profit must be expected to be positive over longer time. So there is a difference between the economic profit and there is a difference between accounting profit. You will explain that. What is economic profit and what is accounting profit. Okay. So they said, okay, there has to be, not necessarily if you are making profit, that doesn't mean that you are making economic profit. So there is a distinction between economic profit and accounting profit, which I will explain later. So there are these companies, I don't understand. Keep on disturbing. Please stop all this. We'll go there. Give it over. This is the concept is feedback is always okay. Serious topic, yeah? This is you have to understand. I speak very slow. You have to understand the methodology to pay attention. There has to be, company has to make an economic profit. I said the companies making accounting profit may not necessarily make economic profit. There is a distinction between accounting profit and economic profit, which is explained. Then the brand must have sufficient global awareness. And then the brand strength score. Yesterday in the last class, I was talking about brand strength score. Ultimately, you have a score. So they have a brand score, which will have a value from 0 to 50, 100. So based on certain criteria, based on certain activities. So if the brand strength score, and that value must be more than 50, then it should be included in the global list. Otherwise, no. So based on that, we have already said the Apple is the number one brand. Okay, number one. Now, what is the Apple? Please start taking from the website, whatever is nonsense available. So we'll explain which of these are. First, every brand has their own segment as a market segment, which we know as a market instrument. Okay, there was a definite segment is. Then from there, your first is your financial analysis. Three components. One is you take financial analysis, one you take demand analysis, and then you take competitive analysis. So based on these three analyses, ultimately you evaluate value of the brand. So there are three key components. What are those components? One person is the financial analysis, where we are talking of economic profit, not the accounting profit. So you have one financial analysis. Then we have demand analysis. Of the total profit, how much is contributed by the brand? How much demand is being created by the brand name and logo, whatever we are talking of, how much of that is being contributed by the brand? that we calculate in terms of the index. Like inflation has got an index, so everything has got an index. Stock market has got their own indexes. Similarly, in the index, you have an index of investor in this. IIP. So everything has got an index. Similarly, we are trying to have an index. What is that? The role of brand index. So we again have a value here in terms of percentage. Out of total earning, out of total profit, economic profit, how much is contributed by the brand? So that we find in terms of percentage, from 0 to 100 maybe. Okay? So that is role of brand index. So in short form we call RPI. Then competitive analysis. We try to find out the strength of the brand. We can design competitors. So we have based on various parameters. We talk about those parameters. And based on these parameters, we have a score. The score will come 0 to 100. And this score will determine the discount rate. So there's three components. I will explain. Discount. This score will determine the discount rates of the brand. And then we have got the earning. We project the brand earning and we discount. From there we get a value. Just I will explain that. So what we are trying to do here, we are trying to find out the value, brand value, B0. So B0 is essentially what we are trying to estimate. What is the value of the brand as on today? Present value. So present value of what? What is the objective of creating a brand? Very simple. What is the objective? Why do you spend so much money? For what? To get return in terms of what? Profit. So simply we are talking of economic profit, which you are going to get in future, not today. The past returns are available. So if I buy a brand, for example, if I want to buy a brand, what I am expecting? That the brand is going to give me a profit in the future. So it's a stream of future income which I am going to have. Okay, so this is 0 here. So we are starting today. The value of the brand. Based on what? Based on the future. Maybe for continue. 100 days, 200 days. So whenever you do account, we have a concept of growing concern. The organization is going to continue forever. Perpetuate. We call perpetuate. Okay, this is what. So we have a stream of income. So what is that income? So we have got a cash inflow. The brand is going to generate sales. Out of that sales, we are going to have some profit out of that business. So that if we take cash flow, CF1, CF2, CF3, CF4, like this, CF5, and then you have to do it for 100 years. So estimating 100 years is very difficult. So what do you do? Normally, if you have to calculate the value, normally 5-6 years you do the forecasting, and then we assume the growth rate, perpetual growth rate. Okay. So first 5 years we calculate. Maybe first 5 years we calculate the cash flows. So what income is going to be the first 5 years we calculate. Then we assume that income is going to grow perpetually, indefinitely, at a G which is equal to G. Growth rate is G. We assume maybe 2%, 3% we may assume that brand earning will grow by 2% after 5 years. So that is perpetually growth rate. Okay, so what do you do first? First you calculate the economic profit. So your cash flows, whatever you are talking future, it has to be expressed in terms of economic profit. Ultimately, brand will give you a revenue. From revenue, we subtract all the expenses. We get profit after tax. Then we find out the economic profit. And this economic profit we are going to receive for 5 years. After 5 years, maybe after 6 years, we assume that is going to continue, grow at the rate of a certain percentage. So we assume a growth rate. See. So now this. Now simply what you do, I don't add. Do I add all these cash flows to find out the brand value? No. Why? can I add the brand value is CF1 plus CF2 plus CF3? Can I do this? No. Why? Because the value of money after first year and the value of money after second year is not same. So what we need to do? We need to find out the present value. We have to prepare. We have to find out the present value. We have been talking in previous class. If you remember, what is the present value? And when future value is going to, this is the formula. Yes. R is here, R is discount rate. So what is the present value? This is present value. 1 plus R to the power. Present value is going to future value 1 plus R to the power. So R is the discount. Now what rate should I get? That is the big question. What rate should I get? What should be my cash flow? That is the question. So we have four questions to answer. So these are answers. Right? First of all, we need to find out the profit. Economic profit. So we have to find out the brand value. We need to find out the economic profit. Then, out of this economic profit, how much is attributed by the brand? That we have to find out. So there, we calculate role of brand index in terms of percentage. Suppose I say my economic profit is X plus 1 for next 5 years. X plus 1, X plus 2, X plus 3, X plus 4 for next 5 years. Out of this, how much of this in the earning is attributed by the brand? How do you do it? Based on role of brand. So they develop an index in terms of percentage. Whether that has to be 0% or 50% or 100%. So that is role of brand. So I multiply that. Here, if I get 60%, I multiply into 0.6. Based on my value of loan brand index, I calculate. Now each year I got earning. So each earning, suppose first year, I have to multiply this into present value. So what I will do? I have to multiply this into 1 by R. Discounting because the value of money tomorrow and the value of money today. Money today is more valuable than money tomorrow. So you have to find out the present value. It has to be discounted by a rate. So how do you calculate that rate? That rate is calculated based on that percentage. Discount rate will be 5%, 10%, 12%, 50%. What should be the value? Suppose my future, after 1 year I will get 110 rupees. If the discounting rate is 10%, what is the value of that 1 year today? 100. 110 divided by 1.1, so I get 100. So this is the rate. If I use 20%, the value will be more or less? The value will be less. So higher the discount rate. So there is a relationship between the discount rate and the brand value. So higher the discount rate, lower it will be the value of the brand. So we are talking that if your discount rate is high, the value of the brand will be low. And this discount rate is determined by your brand strength. So if you have a higher brand strength, means what? Your discount rate will be low or high? Low. So if I got a higher brand strength, my discount rate I am using is low. If I got a low brand strength, my discount rate will be high. So this brand strength score will be based on the certain parameter, based on your competitive position in your industry. So it calculate that score. So these two are quantitative factors. We have to try to quantify. These are both, we take some qualitative factor and then we try to quantify. The first one you have to calculate the role of brand index. Yes.
So this role of brand index, basically previous class you told the 7 criteria.
So that based on that parameter. Now we are talking of the interband approach.
So, like
more or less it will be the
those
same.
kinds of qualitative
So there we are used to calculate the brand multiplier.
but
Here we will be using that score as a discount.
discount.
Okay. Now how are we going to calculate? Just see. So for example, today we are going to find out the brand value. This is the parameter we are going to find out, brand value. Now what you have done, you have estimated, first you have estimated the economic cost. We will explain how to calculate the economic cost. Then out of this economic profit, total profit, how much is attributed by the brand? Solely by the brand. That you will estimate. So for that estimation, we have got 5 index. RPI, growth of brand index. It is expressed in terms of percentage, 0 to 100. So everything it is explained by the brand, then it's okay, we take 100. Otherwise, we take 50, 60, so other than multiply. So we get the profit, economic profit attributed to the brand. After 7 to 8 years, it's not possible to calculate over 100 years. So we assume a growth rate. Z. So from here, we assume a Z. And then this cash flows has to be converted as a current value. So what do we do? We multiply this into 1 plus, divided by 1 plus, divided by 1 plus R square. This what we do? 1 divided by 1 plus R square. So we go like this. Multiply. And then we add. We add all these values. Okay. From here, we will take a terminal value. So from, for example, here from 6th year, we will calculate the terminal value, economic profit from 6th year. So terminal value will be what? Last class we have spoken. If this goes like this, okay? If your growth rate is suppose from here you will have EP7 is going to what? EP6 1 plus Z. EP7 is going to EP6 1 plus Z. EP6 means economic profit 7th year. EP8 year is going to what? EP6 1 plus G square. Geometric progression. So EP6 will be summation of that. Geometric progression will be what? A divided by 1 by R. So we'll get this. EP6 is equal to EP7 1 R minus Z. And this G is constant. R you know. So you can find out a value, terminal value. Terminal value at the end of 7th year or maybe 6th year. So we have a terminal value here. TB. Suppose we get a TB. So we convert this plus the terminal value. So this value is nothing but the value of the 6th year to infinite fuel. So if you do like this, you will have a GP series. The sum is your GP series is what? A 1 by R. R is what? Common base. They are multiplying into common base. So what is that common base? 1 plus C divided by 1 plus R. So if I substitute this value, this is the first term. So you substitute this value, you get this. Okay. So we have got a cash flows and we have a terminal value. Maybe at the end of 6th year, maybe 7th year. So we convert them into present value. So whenever we are converting them into present value, we are multiplying into 1 divided by 1 plus R. So we are discounting. So what rates like discount period? So that is being answered from the branch states. So they have a score. So based on that score, they assign they will give the discount. So I have a discount rate and then I get the banner. So 1 plus R, 1 plus R, I calculate 1 plus R square U and take the sum. So essentially it will look like this. So if I calculate present value of brand or BGA is going to simply say cash flow. Cash inflow divided by 1 plus R. Cash inflow 1 plus divided by R square. So if you take 5 years cash flow, you forecast for 5 years. This is first year, second year, third year. 1 plus R square. Fourth year. R to the power 4. Fifth year. C5 1 plus R to the power 5. And they will a terminal value at the end, participated growth rate, and that has to be 1 plus R to the power 5. From here we are assuming the growth to be constant. So you have got a value at the end of 5th year. So this summation is your brand value. So for estimating, you need to find out your cash inflow. How that cash inflow is calculated based on economic profit and based on code of brand index. You find out the total economic profit. Out of that profit, you try to find out the percentage which is due to the brand. So we get that cash flow. Then you are using a discount rate. So what discount rates you like it? That is based on your brand state. So higher the brand state, what is the discount rate? So brand mix is low. If my brand state is more, then my brand mix is less. So we will be using a less discount rate. And it will vary from country to country. I don't know, it is not available what discount rate they use. But for India, the minimum discount rate, this is based on my finance knowledge. The minimum discount rate should be the RBI bond rate, mixed rate. Okay? If the brand state is 100, so what discount rate should be there? It's equal to RA, mixed rate, which is to invest in a government bond. The government bond rate is equal to 7% rate of interest. So in that point of time, I will be using 7%. This is not specified in the website. This applying my common sense, I understood. Okay. You can write, you can do whatever research, you can develop a discount rate based on this. If you do that, you can do PhD, you can do this problem. Okay. So this is how we calculate. Anybody else doubt? Anybody else doubt? I'll explain to you. Some few students I will explain. Time value of money you are very familiar, I don't know whether it's been taught to you or not. Is it taught to you? Time value of money?
Fast you get.
Huh?
Fast you get. The very fast.
Then these students, I don't know. They are students. I don't know. Is it taught to you? Huh?
He's asking you want any clarification.
You want any clarification? So just simply assume that you are going to buy a brand. So why are you going to buy a brand? Because it's going to give you cash inflow. Going to give you a return. Beta will be based on first year, second year, 5 year, 4th year, 5th year. It will continue for 100 years. So here it is not possible for you to calculate for 100 years, forecast for 100 years. So what do? You forecast for maybe 5 years, 6 years, based on past data. You forecast, assume a growth rate, forecast, and then at the end of 6th year, 7th year, you assume the growth to be a constant. So you have a terminal value, and the terminal value is calculated based on the GP series. Okay? So I get a terminal value. So we are assuming, calculating cash flow for 5 years. From 6th year, we are assuming the growth to be remain constant. So we have a terminal value. Okay? And then we are using this discount rate. This nothing, it comes from your compound rate formula. What is the compound rate formula? The amount is equal to principal, 1 plus, nothing new. Okay? This was taught in class 8. The amount we are going to get, principal. The money you are going to invest, R is rate of interest, N is number of years. So you are just rewriting the formula. Amount is what you are going to receive in which future. So this is you are replacing future value. Principal is the amount you are investing today. We are just replacing right in present value. The R is what we are using the discount rate. You can take R the terminology or nomenclature R will change from situation to situation. If you are investing in bank, we call rate of interest. If you are trying to find out the value of the money, we take R is very interested. Here we are trying to discount. So we take R as a discount rate. And N is number of value. So the first year, this amount you are going to receive in the first year. So what will be the value of that? Present value is 1 plus R to the power N. So R is first year, N is 1, first year. Second year is what? Square, N is 2. Third year is 6. Fourth year is 6. This is how it calculated. Very simple. Okay. So we are calculating. Anybody has doubt? I will explain. So how do we calculate the economic profit? So first we take the net operating profit. We will not take profit after tax. If you look at an income statement, what do you get? Income minus all expenditure. You get expenditure includes everything. Raw material, salary, wages, whatever you call. You get earning before interest, tax and depreciation. You subtract depreciation. You get earning before interest and tax. So that is the earning operating profit. So after that, the interest is deducted. Interest is nothing to do with the operation. How much interest I am going to pay, we decided based on what? Based on the money we have borrowed. Nothing to do with the operation. I cannot reduce the interest cost. I cannot reduce the interest cost. It's nothing to do with the operation. So
operating profit is same as revenue.
No. Revenue is income. If you are selling something, you are earning revenue. Okay. So I thought. The next one. We are three more or less same terminology. Income, sales, and revenue. How do you get? If I am selling some product, what? First I need to know how much quantity I will sell, and what is the selling price. So I get a revenue in terms of rupees. So, for example, a product or a brand somebody is selling a number of units of TV, and then I need to multiply into a selling price. Okay, this selling price will depend on the brand sale also. If you are going to have brand sale, the selling price will be low, your margin will be low. Simply, what is the objective of getting brand? Either you get a premium price or your volume will be low. Either of these two. So your revenue will be more. Okay? So this is what one will be sold into the selling price. For a manufacturing unit, for a service sector, you don't have a quantity. The number of services you are giving, into the service charge you are taking. Okay, so this your income. Then from here, whenever you are doing this activity, you are incurring a lot of expenditures. What are those expenditures? So cost of sales, which include cost you have to buy a raw material. Then you employ people, you spend on advertisement, spend on your transportation, all costs will be included. So all expenses you subtract. So raw material cost would be mostly 60% of your expenses for a manufacturing unit. Then your salary, normally for the personal cost now. Okay. Then you are advertising, marketing, so you get earning before. This is earning before interest, tax and depreciation. Earning before interest, tax and depreciation. Now the company using certain asset to manufacture these goods, and this asset is there for so many years. So we have called them a fixed asset, tangible assets, which you have spoken in past lectures, tangible and intangible. The plant is an intangible assets. So they are using tangible assets to produce this good. So this tangible asset will depreciate. So part of that every year has to be taken as an expense. So that is called your depreciation. Whenever you use a car, today you purchase a car and you want to sell it up after 2 years. Will you get same price? No. Because your car will depreciate because of you. So you have a depreciation. From depreciation you get earning before tax. So these people are earning before or profit before, whatever you call. Profit before interest and tax. Then you pay interest. Okay? And now, so that's the explaining in this. Okay? So what company they do? Essentially, they buy assets. Many companies, they buy an asset, they buy a fixed asset, and they buy raw material and convert it to finished good and sell. So your investment is essentially in assets, fixed asset and current assets. Current asset means asset you are using. Raw material, you are giving credit to your customers. So these are also current assets. So you have a fixed asset and current assets. Then you have a liability and you have an equity. So debt and equity, these are the sources of funds. So this is the source of capital you are employing, debt and equity. And they are doing this activity, you are earning before interest and tax. So if you look at any balance sheet or any annual report, you will be able to get the earning before interest and tax of the company. Go to TCS. These are available. All public information, these are available. Earning before interest and tax. So this, from this figure, we will calculate the net operating profit. Net operating profit after tax. After tax. So this is before tax. Earning before interest and tax is before tax. So after tax, what do we do? We will simply give it 1 minus tax rate. We will get net operating profit after tax. So what I get? I get net operating profit after tax. So this is the accounting profit. So we subtract tax and then we get profit after tax. But what is economic profit? Economic profit is what? You have to subtract. So you are using capital. So from this, doing this, you have taken your part of money. So you have used some capital. So your capital has been employed in the form of buying fixed asset, in the buying of current asset. Okay. So that asset, whenever you are using that asset, that money, that asset has got a cost. So if you have taken fund from either a lender or from a shareholder, that money has got a cost. So actual value addition will happen if you earn excess over your cost. Actual economic profit you will get if you have got excess income after paying to this stakeholder and after paying to the seller. So that is economic profit. Economic profit is simply profit after tax. Economic profit is what? After paying everybody, whether there is excess fund or not. Simply just like this. Okay. Suppose my total capital employed is 100 crore. Total capital employed is 100 crore. Okay. Just out of that, my profit is PBI is 10 crore. Okay. But these 100 crore, I have to collect from whom? Who will give this money? Nobody is there for charity. Nobody will give you money free of cost. So whatever money you are employing in the business, that has got a cost. And this cost will vary. So in financial terms, we call them cost of capital. Now how to explain that? That is clear. You need to spend another 2 hours just to explain how we calculate cost of capital. Simple terms. Whenever you are borrowing money, you have got a cost. Suppose the cost is 10%. So how much you have to pay? 10% of this is 10 crore. And if your EBI is 10 crore, actually the economic profit is 0. So you are not making any profit. So whatever money you have collected, if you have to give them a service in terms of paying them, either to the lender or to the shareholder, you are left with 0. If somebody is buying your shares, what is his expectation? That you pay him something in the form of dividend. If you are taking loan from the bank will charge you interest rate, so that money has got a cost. So that is subtract from here. So that is what this we are using. Minus a charge for the capital used to generate bank revenue account. That will be subtract. So capital employed into the cost, you have to subtract from your net operating profit to get economic profit. So yes.
Sir, is it possible that the company not earning, like going in a cash flow is going to be become in a loss,
No?
going in a loss, but the brand valuation is increasing? It is possible,
So
sir?
according to this, you will not include. According to their methodology, intrabank. Or what is the criteria they use? What is the criteria?
Positive over the norm. Must be expected to be must be positive.
Yes.
But there are some exceptions, sir.
So according to their methodology, you will not be. So we are talking of the interbank assets.
Like sir, I want to give some example. Like the franchisee league are going on, just finished last night. So if we take the data, last 5 years, or I suppose take the CSK King data, its valuation 120 million. But suddenly in 2024, it's 1.225 billion. But in actual, the cash flow we are checking, they are earning in a season, hardly they are in a season, highestly earning is 700 crore. No, sir. I would
explaining.
I just
Interbank
asking.
method. Based on the interbank method, if your economic profit is not there, you will not be included. There are some other methods by which you can do the valuation. You have spoken about royalty method, cost method. You can always.
So other method
yes.
is possible, maybe.
Other method is possible. You can design your own method and write article and you can famous also. Nothing. Nobody stops you. This is the most
Another thing, like what you have told, I think it is you are forecasting the cash flows.
Yes.
Maybe the past cash flows were negative. It may be in future their company is generating money, is going to generate money. The real life example is Zomato. The past cash flows are negative, but company is
So I
making money.
am not forecasting based on the past. What I
Yes,
say
sir.
is,
Yes, sir. That I am trying to.
must be expected to be positive in the long run.
Yes, sir.
So
That's
if
what
you
I
are making a negative cash flow, yes, you are adding to is fine. If you are making a negative cash flow, doesn't mean that you will have a negative cash flow over a period of time.
Maybe we are earning
So-
positive.
So maybe after 1 year, you will maybe come into a
positive.
positive cash flow. But this is how they calculate. Okay? Whenever they include, I am just explaining their methodology. Okay, I am not really. So there are some other methods which you are talking about. Brand finance is one. such method where you can value your brand. But this is one of the most popular people they use it. So this is what? You have got a so where we started. So we are talking of net operating profit after tax. It's earning before interest and tax minus 1 minus tax rate minus you have to subtract what? The capital employed into cost of that in terms of percent. So if you subtract that, you get economic profit. The first portion. First portion is EBIT minus the total capital employed into cost of capital. Economic profit. So economic profit is what? NOPAT minus capital employed, total capital employed in the brand minus into what? Cost of capital. Cost. So if you subtract, you get economic profit. This is available. You go to any balance sheet, TCS, you collect the data, you get EBIT from income statement. From there you calculate the cost. Mostly the cost will be 12%. Okay. If I don't look at TCS, their debt is zero. They don't have debt in the balance sheet. Debt-free companies. So their only source is equity. And more or less the cost of equity is how much? 12%. More or less 12%. How do you find out? You just apply your common sense. If somebody is buying TCS shares, he will be happy to get 12% return. So my 12% return becomes company's cost. Very simple. The ways to calculate it for it, just apply your common sense. Management में कुछ नहीं है. 50% common sense and 50% nonsense. You use a lot of jargons and create confusion. Okay? So very simple. If you are buying TCS shares, what return you will be having? 12%. So that becomes the cost to come. Very simple. Now I have various methods to justify it. But normally, if I buy TCS share, if I get 12%, I will be happy because TCS has got a brand image, so 12% return is good enough. And if I keep my money in bank, I get 8%. I said, okay, 12% is happy. So I assume the cost to be 12% and do it. Very simple. TCS, all these companies. But if I am buying a small company shares, I might be asking for a higher return because the risk is high. Brand risk is high. In terms of marketing, the brand risk is high, so we expect a higher return. If I buy a small company share, I would expect to get a higher return. So my discount will get to be high. Very simple, isn't it? It's complication. Very simple things. Then the role of brand. These measure the process of purchase. This is an attributed solely to the brand, not our patents. Whenever we buy a product, there are so many attributes you consider before buying. Consumer buying theory, you must have thought somehow. So there are a lot of attributes when you buy a toilet. So you consider climates, you consider weather from inside. Okay, so these are there. Apart from that, whenever you have to buy a toilet, so whenever I buy AC, something comes to your mind. Whether should I go for Clear Air, one Bolton. These are the names I know. So first priority comes in looking at the brand. So how much of that comes into play whenever you are buying it? Apart from these attributes are there. Whenever you are buying a branded product, whenever you are buying an unbranded product, these attributes will be there. Price, convenience, everything will be there. But apart from that, how much is being influenced by the brand? And that has to be quantified in terms of us. Very simple. If I have to buy a brand, I know a lot of names like Usar. It's there for something. So first thing will come to my mind, company names. So this will come to my mind. So first deciding factor is this. So maybe 50-60% I will be weighted to the brand. So that becomes my role of brand. Very simple terms. So out of 0 to 100, that becomes 50%. So out of this total economic profit, I multiply into this index. Then what I got a brand strength. Okay. So yes, simplified, the strength will be measured based on 10 factors. based on interval. The previous class we talked about 7 factors. Here we is talking about the 10 factors. Okay. So how do you calculate the brand strength? Statistically derive something. So we have choice modeling method. So you have relative importance of the various attributes. So you can then make a choice, relative importance. Based on that, you find out the role of brand index. Then we have some existing research or their own opinion because they are doing it for so many years. This company is doing it for so many years. So they have got their own expertise to do that. And they have some qualitative assessment. Okay? When no data, nothing is available, it is based on some expert opinion or qualitative data. This role of brand index is calculated from 0 to 100. So this is how to determine the role of brand index, okay? Strength index. So this is how the process. First to identify the driver, conscious driver. Any industrial thing to identify. If you are doing a research, you need to identify. Okay. Then results. The extent of how the extent of brand name, image, reputation will come into play out of this. What percentage? Okay. Simply like this. So imagine a customer trying to buy a new product. So if they say, okay, they consider price, features and the brand, and if they say, okay, 60% of their purchase is being influenced by the brand, then your RPI index will be 60%. Let me put it in very simple language. You make it, have a question here, starting to do that, find out this index, and they are doing it. But what is the process they are doing it? It is not there on the website. It is not there in the literature. I looked into for the last 10 days. I could not find it. So, because this is their business, they are not going to give those kind of information. But this is how you can do it. You can want to do it. This is load of brand index. Then the brand strength score. So one is your, next is your brand strength score, which will determine your discount rate. So this brand strength score is determined by three parameters. One is leadership, the brand leadership we're talking about. So this is internal factor. So these factors are classified, brand strength classified into two factors. One is internal factor, one is external factor. One is the leadership. Okay, there has to be clear-cut purpose and ambition of the brand. There has to be communicate. And there has to be purpose, the direction has to be there. Like company, every company has got a mission. So there is nothing, mission is what? It is the direction which you try to go forward. Without mission, nothing can be achieved. In personal life also, if you don't have vision, you don't have goals, you will have not any direction. So that is what happens in the case of brand also. Yes, you have a clear vision, where it's going to go, ambition. So that is you come from the direction. Direction, the alignment is very important. A lot of times there is mismatch of this vision with the employees. It happens in the organization, particularly public sector. When you talk about public sector, if somebody is CEO, his goal and the company's goal, they don't match. There is lack of alignment. This is called agency power. So you what find the public sector units are doing well? Because nobody is owner. Who is the owner? The government. And government employs somebody whose vision doesn't match with the company's vision. Same happens. You need to the degree to which the whole organization is pulling in the same direction. So there has to be alignment across everybody. Okay. Then you should be empathetic towards your customer. What is empathy? Feeling for others. You need to have feelings for others. Here, feeling for others means feeling for your customers. So if customer is giving feedback, customer is doing something, you need to be empathetic. So this is agility means how quickly you act to stay ahead of the market. How quickly you are active to stay ahead of the market, or stay ahead of the companies. That is what we call in terms of veracity. So these are some internal factors. And then external factors. The unique experience. So whenever you buy a brand, you need to have a unique experience. So distinctive. It has to be distinctive. So in marketing terms, you call product differentiation, USP, unique selling proposition. I need to feel that experience. You may say a lot of things, but as a customer, I need to feel that difference. So distinctiveness, and then there were coherence. Communication is aligned with the core values. So the brand is giving you some core values, giving you message. So there has to be coherence, logical interaction between these. Then you have participation, between which the brand has to draw the attention of the customer. So these are some external factors. These are called engaging factors with your customers. Distinctiveness, coherence, participation. These are engaging factors. There's relevance. It has to be omnipresent. The brand has to be omnipresent. Okay. Then there has to be trust. Whatever the customer has got expectation, you need to deliver that expectation. Then only there will be trust. And then you have affinity. The customers will feel the positive connection, the emotional bond needs to be there between the brand and this. Brand loyalty is a step. Affinity is different from the loyalty. Affinity is one step forward. You need to have emotional contact. You need to refer the customers. Some say this is the brand you should buy. So when somebody wants to say, I say, okay, this is the brand you should buy. So that becomes a brand affinity and promoting other customers. Okay, so these are parameters. So we have got a plain practice. Just we will talk about direction, alignment, integrity, agility. We spoke about distinctiveness, coherence, participation, present, last match. So these are the plain practice. Rest of it is investment. And that's going to be really considerable. So, just to give you an example, how do you measure the brand affinity? For example, you need to have surveys and procedures, ask customer about the emotional connection with the brand. Net promoter scores, measure the customer loyalty, motivates to promote the brand, that is what I was talking about. Net promoter scores, somebody is promoting your brand on behalf of company. So net promoter scores, that how do you measure the brand affinity? These are some tools. Okay. Customer retention, repeat purchase. So these are some of the tools by which you can measure the affinity. You may use all of these, you may not use. But what tools the intrabank is using, I don't know. But most probably they will be using for the similar kind of tool. It is not rocket science, nothing is rocket science. So everybody is human being with some ideas. More or less they will be using some of these methods. Okay, to calculate all of these parameters. Measuring impact also, it has to monitor customer interactions, whether they are literally addressing the customer requirement or not. This is how we try to design an impact. We need to go about primary survey or find out all of this and then give a score. So once you give a score, then this evaluation becomes easy. Everybody has doubt. Just trying to find out the hyperbole, for example. The expression really makes sense. What can we do? I think over there. This is the hyperbole example we are talking about. This is your quantity you are going to sell. Okay, this is your selling price, volume. So this is the total market. Total industry demand, you may say, out of that, if the company market share in terms of volume is 50%, 70% growing, gassing. Just a quick hypothetical example. not put the data from any companies. So this is your market growth, market share of this company volume. So this is your total volume, and this is the selling price. Selling price is expected to go up 2% every year. So this is your revenue. Okay. Out of that, we're talking of sales, cost of sales. We've got a margin, marketing expenses, depreciation, overhead, other cost allocation. We get earning for interest. Okay. Then we get tax. Okay, time is limited to explain this. That's why we need one word. Earning before interest. We got tax. You subtract the tax, 30%, you get net operating profit after tax. This is the capital employed. Okay. This is the capital employed in the business. The cost of capital we have assumed 7%, so 9% of this we get intangible earning. This is the earning we get. Economic profit earning we get intangible earning. Now role of branding is 65%. So this is the earning. 65% is contributed by this brand. So for next 5 years, we will 60%. Then we have calculated the brand score. 56 is from the parameter. We have said 10 parameters. We need to have a brand score. And based on this brand score, we decide the discount. Brand score will be from 0 to 100. So we have a minimum and maximum. That you have to decide. What will be the minimum and maximum. For India, the minimum may be 7%. I said the RBI wanted. Maximum may be 20%. So from 7 to 20%, 0 to 100. You can plot a graph which will explain this card to find out your discount rate. And then again discount rate. So discount rate 1 by 1.1, 10%, 1 by 1.21. So this is the value. Okay. For 1 week. Discount rate for 1 week. So then I get discounted brand name. So this multiplying to this, I get discounted brand name. So for 5 years. And then from this year, we are projecting to grow. What we change. So we find out summation of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Discount rate present value of earning from year 1 to year 5. This is the value. Then the terminal value, which was spoken about. Terminal value, we are finding the discounting of the terminal. So this is the first 5 years. This is the next years. So we get total value of the brand. So if you add these two, you get total value of the brand. This plus this, you get total value of the brand. Okay.
Sir, for 10 years,
What?
total value of the brand for the 10 year or what?
From here we are assuming.
From here we are assuming constant.
From here we are giving a value to the end. Okay, so you get a brand value. Now I ask Swati, what is the relationship? So 578. Suppose we change the discount rate. If the brand sale is 100, for example, or maybe 80. Somebody got a brand sale 80, so we put a discount rate is 0.07, 1.0. brand strength. Something is okay. Next class. So there is a relationship between the okay. Now, if you are putting the discount rate at 10%, the brand value was 57. If you are putting discount rate at 7%, the brand value goes to 18,000. So 3% difference in discount rate has got a huge impact on the brand. And this
thing is that you change the discounting rate and also the brand strength.
Brand strength.
If we change one at a time, we can.
the brand strength and discount rate is related.
Okay.
That is what I have been explaining.
Yes.
The discount rate is derived from the brand strength. Higher the brand strength, higher is the discount rate. Lower is the discount rate. So 70 means your discounting rate should be low. This discounting rate is derived from the brand strength. That is what the entire logic of that interval is. You are calculating the brand strength to derive the discounting rate. If your brand strength is 80%, 8 from 0 to 8, 8 is better 80 score out of 100. So obviously your brand mix is less because your strength is more. So obviously your discounting rate should be low. So if your discounting rate is low, your brand value will be more. That is what we are doing. Okay, that will go. So this is the method which we are using. So it's hypothetical. I don't know. The exact things are not available. Nowhere is available. This is the trade secret. Cooperative firm, they will not give those kind of things. So whatever you will collect from their website, whatever methodology there is, this is how it must be calculated. No other way they can do it. So essentially, you are calculating the future profit they are going to get from the excess profit after paying to your lender and shareholder, whatever profit you get. Multiply that into the plan, exclusively earning coming from that use of your brand name, recognition, so you multiply that, and then calculate the brand strength, have a discount rate, and then discount that to find out the present value. So this is the methodology we use. Okay, everybody has doubt?
Sir, can you share the Excel with us, sir?
You Excel will say. Give me an email or do I don't know.
Yes,
It's
we
right,
have
sir.
tried.
Sir.
We have created them.
Google Drive, sir.
Google Drive. Okay, okay.